Well, welcome. This is the last video in this series, Under the Hood, and we've had a great time doing this, and we hope it was our goal that as we're talking about core values here at Hope Community Church, that we could apply it to our relationships and to our kids and things like that. A lot of things that I know people out there watching, you're right in the middle of all this stuff. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to talk about kids. And Sunday we talked about honor and how it's a core value of our church. Hopefully you watched a video, short little video we did about how to honor each other in your marriage relationship. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to talk about kids, and that's a different story because there's all kinds of things that happen with kids, and you're disciplining them, and you're doing it's a wild ride. So why don't you read Genesis there,
Sure.
to that little scripture?
All right. Genesis 1:27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them.
Yeah. So we talked about this a little bit on Sunday morning, the idea that God created us, period. God is the one that created us. If he wanted to create anything else, he could have.
Right.
If he wanted to make us look any different, he could have. If he wanted to make us operate any different, he could have. But he created us the way we are and who we are. And so one of the things that we find out really early in life is sometimes we have to teach kids what is valuable.
Right.
And so we want them to treat the dog right. Mm-hmm. We want them to treat the cat right. We want them to
treat their friends right.
Treat their friends well. We want them to take care of the environment. Don't tear up the house and all that stuff.
Right.
But sometimes we fail to put a value on people. Mm-hmm. And if a bully's at school and all these things, and we fail to teach them really how to value people, and that's the thing that God created like himself.
Right.
In his image, God created man in his own image. There's nothing else on the planet like it.
Right.
And so we want to teach kids right from the early beginning that there is value in human life, and that we should honor people. Amen. That we should put a lot of respect and honor on the people around us. So we got to teach them value and worth. So
they learn that from us.
Yeah.
One of the ways they do that is how we treat our spouse.
Yeah.
How we treat them, how we treat others.
Yeah.
So they learn those. They learn how to talk about people, and they learn how to treat people from watching us.
So sometimes we can inadvertently devalue our own kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the way we talk to them, the way we operate around them. So how you talk to them is a big deal. And I can't say I've always been great at this, to be honest with you. I'm sarcastic. I'm a jokester. Everything is a joke. And so I know there was times raising our kids that I was probably over the line with jokes and being sarcastic. Now that came back to haunt me because they're a lot of the same
like
way.
That. They are.
But I started realizing, wait a second, I've got to cut the sarcasm out, and I've got to cut the jokes out and be serious every now and then and say, man, I'm proud of you. You did a great job. Right. And just not be sarcastic all the time because we can easily devalue things with sarcasm. We can easily devalue things joking all the way. So another thing is what you say about them, especially when they're in earshot.
Right.
And what we find out is kids hear everything.
They do.
Kids hear everything.
We have one in particular that has
radar
ears that child can hear things a mile away. So they do. They hear what you're saying. That you might not think that they're paying attention, but they are. And those are the things that are going to build them up or tear them down.
Definitely.
Especially, when you say something to them, that's one thing. But when they realize that maybe you didn't mean for them to hear something, that's even different.
Yeah, so your friends are over and you put your kids to bed and you're thinking there's no way they can hear this, and you start complaining about the kids. And look, you're not walking through anything abnormal.
Right.
The issue is making sure that they're hearing positive language come from you, and they're not going to bed hearing you complain about them to somebody else, or in the grocery store, in the hardware store, and you run into it and you're like, well, if I could get this kid to listen. it really matters what we say about them.
It does.
And it really matters what we say to them. We need to make sure they understand value that they're receiving from the authority in their life, from the people that were designed to love them and raise them and care for them. That's where they're going to understand that. So how they hear you talk about them to others. And then something that gets very, very difficult because, we talked about marriage. We're not really correcting each other.
No.
We're doing life together. We're figuring things out together. But with children, you're disciplining a lot, maybe 50, 60% of the time, maybe 80% of the time sometimes, but you're disciplining a lot. So how you discipline can either add value to a kid or take it away. It can either break their spirit or encourage them.
Be sure you don't necessarily withhold that discipline just because you're afraid to say something wrong.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to tell them and show them how much they're worth as you discipline.
Yeah. Yeah, there's got to be a right and a wrong, but it doesn't mean they're less valuable even if they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So the idea is even when they mess up, remind them of how valuable they are. It's worth them correcting this because how much value God put on them and how much value you put on them.
Right.
So we talked about how we can inadvertently teach dishonor, but with how we treat and talk to our kids and talk about our kids and how we discipline, all those things. But there's also how we
talk about other people in front of our children.
Yeah.
You're driving down the car and you think, oh, they've got this or they're paying attention to that, and they hear you saying,
whatever the juicy gossip is.
Exactly.
Of the day.
Whoever you saw at the store or whatever.
Yeah.
So they hear that. And so, part of that is maybe going to make them question, if mom and dad are like this to so-and-so at the store, and then they get in the car and talk about them a different way, then they're going to wonder about how true the words are that you're giving them as well. So.
Yeah. So the old adage, if you don't have anything good to say,
don't say anything at all.
Don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
One of the things that way we could teach our kids honor is to value other people, even in their mistakes. So look, there's no perfect people on the planet. And if every time somebody messes up around us or every time you're at the DMV and it doesn't go your way, or you're in the grocery store, wherever it is, and you're really frustrated with people, the way you communicate that back to your kids either teaches them how to honor people or dishonor people. And so even if I have conflict with somebody, when I get in front of my kids about that conflict, I want them to know that I'm still having grace for those people and that they're still in the process, that we're all walking into this thing together. We're still going to be friends, et cetera, et cetera. So value other people in spite of their mistakes. And then another way, go back to the other video we made, is make sure they see you valuing your spouse and their other parent or caretaker. Look, this is huge.
I'm going to speak to the women again, the moms, the wives. Again, a lot of times you spend more time with your kids. That's not always the case, but sometimes you do. And be careful. I know I've been guilty of this as well. Maybe you're frustrated about something that happened, and then maybe you speak poorly of your spouse in front of them. But then you need to also be careful that if maybe your husband gives permission or provides discipline or says, no, you're not going to do that. Don't go back around. I mean, they need to see you unified in that. Well, don't talk negatively about your spouse. When a rough decision is made that maybe you don't 100% agree with, but you need to be unified on that.
One other thing I'd add to that, I've counseled a lot of people who are going through divorces, who have been through a divorce. I'm just gonna ask you to take the high road. It's really difficult, I know, going through a divorce, and you have one parent with ideas, another parent with ideas. Sometimes they're pitting against each other, the whole 9 yards. It's really hard to walk a kid back or teach a kid honor when you're devaluing their other parent. And so I always encourage people walking through a divorce, take the high road. Take the high road. At the end of the day, trust me when I tell you this, at the end of the day, when the kids grow up and they're adults, they're going to appreciate the fact that you took the high road with the other spouse,
Right.
with the other parent, that you didn't throw them under the bus, that you didn't devalue them, because really the child is in a no-win circumstance. The child is sitting in the middle, oftentimes not even understanding the ramifications or what incited the split. They really may not grasp any of it. And what they hear is one parent devaluing the other parent. And so it really creates this toxic environment. So I encourage, in every circumstance, I say, man, just take the high road. I know it's gonna be difficult in the moment. I know it's gonna be tough. I know it's gonna feel like you're getting run over, but take the high road. At the end of the day, you're teaching your kids how to honor people. And that is a huge deal. And if there's anything in this world we need now is for people to place value on each other. We throw people away so easy nowadays. If we disagree about something, we just toss them aside. And so we just want to encourage you, if we can plant this in our kids, that God made us, every single one of us, with all of our flaws and all that stuff. He loved us enough to send Jesus. Then he tells us, love God with everything you have, and then love your neighbor as yourself. And so that's our job, is to put high value on the people that God made and put around us. And so we want to teach our kids from a young age that people have value, and it's worth them respecting and honoring that. So thanks for being with us, and hopefully we'll get together and do this some more.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know where I live.
We'll see you.